When a child is not eating when they transition to a new daycare or preschool, the problem isn't the child. The problem is the expectation that the child was going to go through this transition and eat. Think about it this way. As adults, when we go into a new situation, maybe it's an unfamiliar environment with a lot of unfamiliar people, maybe it's really loud and chaotic, and we're just not sure what to anticipate. We might get nervous, and we might get so nervous that we feel just like a really high level of stress. We might even start to feel unsafe in this situation. And when we as adults feel nervous and unsafe, it impacts our ability to feel good enough to eat, right? And maybe we get stomach aches and all kinds of things. So now imagine that you're a small child, a baby or a toddler. You're going into a completely new, unfamiliar environment without your safe person who you know cares for you and keeps you safe. Why do we expect that child? You also have no bodily autonomy, right? At least as adults, we could leave or do things to help ourselves, but that child has no control over what happens to them throughout the day. Why do we expect them to feel good enough, safe enough, and relaxed enough to be able to eat the unfamiliar food that for some reason we expect every single child to be able to eat? It makes no sense. There's nothing familiar there. And then we might even have a provider that tells parents who are already stressed, oh, don't worry, they'll get hungry enough that they'll eventually eat our food. Don't send anything from home. Or, oh, they're eating the graham crackers, so they'll be fine. At least they're eating something. No, 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 no. This is absolutely the opposite of the way that we should be approaching this. It baffles me that in our culture, this is sort of what we've come to. Not every child eats the same way, right? Am I stating the obvious here? What should happen is the daycare or caregivers there should say, send something familiar so that your child feels that they can nourish themselves. They see something and they feel safe and comfortable. It's okay if your child wants their safe, familiar food, because we know that a child who is nourished, and by the way, they may not even initially eat their like quote unquote safe preferred foods because they still need to feel safe enough to even eat. But once they eat those foods, they're going to hopefully feel nourished enough that they can start to be ready for learning, maybe even start to be ready for learning about new foods. And now I know that lots of places have health codes and things like that. For most places, I was just reading the city of Chicago's health code with a doctor's note, your child can have access to a special diet. And if the daycare can't provide that, then you can send it. And don't let them tell you that, oh, we can't do this because then all the other kids will want it. Your kid doesn't have to starve so that they don't have to handle teaching the other kids that sometimes other people eat different foods. I have seen this work. The kids will be okay. So talk to your doctor. Let your doctor know that you don't want your child to be so stressed that they're unable to nourish themselves and be regulated and ready for learning and feel safe. The stress is not worth it. The stress is not the way to get to learning.